Welcome to the PBC. It's your boy PB K9s giving it to you the way I always do, fair and unbiased, raw and uncut. Today we talking about should the pit bull be banned. We're gonna watch a few videos with people speaking about this particular topic, and we're gonna give a review on it. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I'm gonna stop it and give my opinion on certain things, and we're gonna just see what other people across the country that's not savvy about these American pit bull terriers, just what they think about the pit bull in general, the group of dogs as a whole. So let's just get into this, man. And like I said, we're gonna chop it down as it go.
So another 80-year-old has been mauled to death by a pit bull. And of course, every time somebody is killed by a pit bull, everyone starts debating online and screaming at each other about whether or not pit bulls are really just nice puppies, and it's really up to the owner to train them to be killers, or whether they are stone cold killers all by themselves. And I've not weighed in on this debate because it just seems so evident and obvious and borderline stupid that we keep having this discussion over and over again. But today, I'm going to weigh in. So everybody, buckle up. Get ready to be super angry in the comments. First and foremost, let's just start with some arbitrary facts. In terms of dog breeds, you are most likely to be bitten by a Jack Russell Terrier. Did you know that? Also on the list of breeds that are most likely to bite you are Chihuahuas. I definitely knew that because I can't stand Chihuahuas. I'm sorry if you're a Chihuahua owner. Obviously, they are not very nice dogs. They yap all the time and they bite a lot, but nobody cares about Jack Russell Terriers or Chihuahuas biting because at the end of the day, you can punt them. You could punt them for a couple of points if you needed to, right? Not the same circumstance when it comes to pit bulls. So let's go over some statistics. Again, these are the facts. Don't be mad at me for being the messenger. This is dated for the 2020 year. Pit bulls are indeed, of course, the most fatal dogs. 65% of all deaths by dogs are committed by pit bulls. 65%. That is 200%.
Now, let me stop it right there. She said 65% of all dog deaths in America are committed by pit bulls.
284 deaths per year.
284 deaths per year. Now, this is Miss Candace Owens. I do this dog news all year long. You know, I give y'all all the attacks all year long. And one or two maybe slip through the cracks, and then I'll do it 3 or 4 weeks later or a month later and speak about it. You know, I don't let no dog attack slip through the cracks. Now, especially American Pit Bull Terriers or a Pit Bull breed of dog. I don't let none of them slip through the cracks. 200 and some deaths by a Pit Bull this year is a lie. It's how people that have voices out here in this public make these dogs look a certain kind of way. You know, we cover the news all year long. And for anybody to say that Pit Bulls have killed 200 and some people, the way she's saying it is the average. You know, 200 people have not been killed by pit bulls this year in America. I didn't say attack, I say killed. There's a big difference. Let's go.
184 deaths per year. In second place, and this is a long away second place, are Rottweilers. They account for 10% of all deaths. And
now I'm going to stick up for the Rottweilers. I'm not going to say them Rottweilers don't bite nobody. But how many Rottweiler deaths have I given y'all brothers and sisters over this year, over the past 2 years, 3 years? Rottweiler, purebred Rottweiler deaths have I given y'all brothers, sisters? I mean, I'm not even going to lie to you. I'm just going to say because I can't remember 100%. I'm going to give you 5 over the past 5 years that I gave brothers. I ain't been doing this news 5 years yet, but I'm going to give you 5 over the past 4 years. Rottweiler deaths from a full purebred Rottweiler. I don't even recall doing Rottweiler videos where they're attacking all kind of people. You know, but you don't have 5 different kind of 7, 8 different kind of Rottweilers. You know what I'm saying? You got 7, 8 different kind of pit bulls to make All these ones get classified into one group. You only got one Rottweiler. You know what I'm saying? If you really classify the real pit bull attacks, you wouldn't have as many real pit bull attacks as people classify. But let's keep it going.
45 deaths per year. And as another fact, in 2021, of the 51 Americans that were killed by dogs, 37 of them were killed by one or more pit bulls. Okay, now let's get into the history of pit bulls as a breed. In case you don't know this, the ancestors of pit bulls can be traced back over 2,000 years to the United Kingdom. Originally, the pit bull was bred from the Old English Bulldog, which has a look that is not too entirely dissimilar from the American.
Now, let me stop it right there. The dogs that she's talking about, coming from the past, coming from the Old English, them the dogs that we have, that we possess. But the dogs she's showing on the screen is not the dogs we possess. That's not what we consider a pit bull. You know, we consider that a bully dog. A whole nother breed of dog. You see, I'm gonna get to speaking about this in a few minutes. You know what I'm saying? We may need to, if you want to ban something, ban mixing these dogs up and making these dogs, crossing these dogs with all other kind of dogs. In my opinion, a purebred dog is the best one to have. They always talking about, oh, making these dogs too pure and making purebred dogs are attacked. Purebred dogs are attacking. In my opinion, purebred dogs can be relied on. You know what I'm saying? You don't never know what you're getting out of these mixed breed dogs 5 years down the line, 6 years down the line. But let's keep this thing going.
Bulldog that we see today. If you didn't already know, pit bulls are the result of crossbreeding bulldogs with various terrier breeds. The dogs were used for bull baiting. It was a sport in which a couple of bulldogs would annoy and attack a bull until the animal gave up and collapsed. But that's not it. They were also bred to bite and hold bears and other large animals around the face and the head. Okay, so that is obviously very relevant. An animal that is capable of biting and attacking a bear. This sport, along with other baiting sports, was outlawed back in 1835. Then a new sport came of interest, and this was called ratting. Dogs were pitted against rats in competition as to whose dog could kill the most rats, and that is where the name pit bull derives from.
Now, I mean, I've always heard pit bulls and the ratting, you know, but the name, as far as the pit bull getting the name from the rats being put in the box with the pit bull, I never heard that really. Not saying it's not true, but I never heard that. The pit bull got his name for going in the pit against another dog. You see? We call the name over here the American Pit Bull Terrier. That's where the name came from, American Pit Bull Terrier, named by Americans. Americans made this thing into a box dog, you know. If we would have created them for rats and we would have created them for bears, then we would have still been using them for bears and we'd have still been using them for rats, 100%. Not, oh, we can use them for this. 100%, it would have never been no old fighting rings. Once in America, the Americans finessed the breed, named the breed the American Pit Bull Terrier because of what the dog does in the pit with another dog, you see? But let's keep this thing going, man. Like I said, we just gonna break this stuff down. Not saying that everything she's saying is wrong. Some of the stuff she's gonna say is right.
The fact that rats were put into the pit in a bid to stop them from escaping. With time, that sport then turned into just dogfighting because it was easier to hide from the authorities. And obviously, dogfighting, even though it is illegal, does still go on today, even in the United States of America. So yes, it is correct to say that these dogs were bred to fight. They were bred to attack and they were bred to kill over many, many years. And the question of whether or not breeding works, of course it does. The question of whether or not Darwinism is real, of course it is. You can breed for height. You can breed for intelligence. You can breed for stupid if you really want to, right? Obviously, this can take place. You can breed for athleticism. We see examples of this all the time, but it's important to note that just because you are bred in one way or the other does not mean that you are locked into that permanent state, right? So right now, the most mathematically capable people in the world are Koreans. It doesn't mean that Koreans are forever going to be the most mathematically capable people in the world. We could start breeding Americans to be better at math. We could start doing what they do over in Korea, or we could not. And we can remain probably the dumbest mathematical country in the world. So first and foremost, regarding the big question of whether or not we should ban pit bulls, it's important to note because there's a lot of false arguments that are taking place. When people are talking about banning pit bulls, they're not talking about the authorities knocking on your door and taking your pit bull. Nobody's going to come for your pit bulls. If you're listening to this and you go, I have a pit bull, no one's trying to come take your pit bull. Your pit bull is safe. What they're talking about is stopping breeding, right? They no longer want pit bulls to be bred. They kind of just want them to just stop existing long term, but no one's going to come take them. And one thing that people who are very pro pit bull, and this is I would say, a pretty wild bunch, they are very passionate about their claims that pit bulls are kind animals. They always say it's just like the gun debate, right? It's just like it's up to the owner, and the owner makes the pit bull a maniac. Pit bull is not itself a maniac. It's all about the owner. It's just like the guns. And I hate when I hear people say this, when people say it's the owner, not the pit bull, because I feel that those people fail at.
Neither can a pit bull put himself on your yard and put himself on the chain and feed him and give him water himself. He has to have an owner. He got to have an owner. And the same way the owner of that firearm is going to be responsible, then the owner of that pit bull is going to be responsible.
Forming basic analogies, because obviously a gun cannot aim and fire and kill someone by itself. A pit bull can, in fact, aim and attack and kill someone all by itself, whether its owner is there or its owner is not. So please just stop making that ridiculous argument because it's stupid, okay? No matter how much I train a gun to kill, it cannot fire without me, okay? So where do I stand on all of this? Well, I'll tell you personally, I do not like being around pit bulls. My entire life, I have never felt comfortable around pit bulls, ever. Ever in the history, I have friends that have pit bulls. If they kill me, no. But pit bulls are an aggressive dog, right? And I get that my friends who have pit bulls, they love their pit bulls and they're sweet babies. But it's your sweet baby, okay? If the pit bull feels threatened by me, I'm very aware that a pit bull will kill me. And I cannot, for that reason, comprehend the people that think it's acceptable to have pit bulls around young children. How far are you willing to go to be contrarian? I don't understand why you would say, to prove a point, right, that pit bulls are really gentle and wonderful, I'm going to have them around my small children. Now, I'll give you an example of this. When I walk my son around the block, I am so aware. My biggest fear as a mother, I'm not even kidding, is when I walk my son is that a dog is going to get loose and is going to run up and is going to attack him while I'm pushing him. I think about this when I walk. I process. I know in my walk that I do every day what kind of dog lives on every piece of property. I'm like, and they're all different. They're all different. Golden doodle, they're kind of sweet and a little dorky. I'm like, if this guy gets loose, I'm probably okay, right? You see the little yapper ones. I'm like, if this guy gets loose, I'm going to kick him right in the jaw and he's going to go flying, right? I think about what I am going to do if these dogs get loose. And there's just one pit bull on my walk and he barks like a psychopath. Wait, it's an invisible fence. I don't even like invisible fences, okay? I like the real ones. If you're gonna get a fence, get a real one that I can actually see. And he's just barking and barking, and he's very aggressive when he barks. I know what he's thinking. He's thinking, if this invisible fence was not here, I would kill you, Candace.
See, what she's doing right now, you already know from the way she's talking that she just said out her own mouth, she never liked the pit bulls. So she's gonna be biased already, Why every time she's mentioning the pit bull, she's talking about the pit bull killing something. This where we as American pit bull terrier owners get aggravated because it's not our dog doing the attacking. It's not our dog. It's the other bully breed dogs, with the exception of the real American pit bull terrier. A small percentage of these dogs are real American pit bull terrier, And I did the news all year long with all the dog attacks all year long, this year for 2025. And out of all the pictures that I seen, I can't recall one of the dogs being purebred, real American pit bull terrier. Out of all the dogs from 2025 that I saw, A lot of the cases, they didn't show us the pit bulls that did the attacking. You know what I'm saying? So in that case, we don't know if it was a real one or one of the other bully breed dogs. You know, but it got to be a change, man. It got to be a change, because at the end of the day, it got to be a point where all these dogs represent themselves. You know, there's no such thing as a pit bull no more. You either got an American pit bull terrier, a bully dog, a pocket pit, or whatever you got. But you got to have, if you got a pit bull, it got to be an American pit bull terrier. You know, everything else they gotta take their own. They gotta hold their own weight. You know what I'm saying? If brothers want to hold, y'all want to hold. And this is the thing, it's not even the people that own the dogs a lot of the times. It's some of the people that's looking in. Like I always say, the ones looking inside the glass that don't even really know what's going on. But let's keep this thing going.
And I'm thinking, okay, great, because just so you know, I'm going to try to kill you as well. My thought process is, how quickly can I shoot your pit bull in the chest? Because if it's a pit bull and it comes towards me and my child, I don't care if that's your baby, it's going to get shot. That's just the truth. I'm just telling you where I stand on that. People like, oh, you don't know, it could be a gentle, not running toward my children. We're not going to find out. And I hope that you respect that. If you're a pit bull owner, please make sure that your pit bull stays on his property, because I'm not the kind of parent that is going to try to figure out whether or not you have bred your pit bull to be a really kind creature. I don't want it running near my children at all. As a rule, all dogs, by the way, keep your dogs on your properties. I see dogs getting loose all the time, and I think this is so remarkably irresponsible. And of course, this is an animal, and this animal usually has capability, unless it's really small, to kill a human. Now, do I believe the people who are pit bull owners that say that I raised my pit bull since it was born? Do I believe that they are telling the truth when they say that their pit bull would never attack them? Yes, I do believe that your pit bull will not attack you. But I do also know that a pit bull is an animal. And I believe that if a pit bull perceives a threat, whether that threat is real or imagined, they will be overtaken by their animal instinct. And a pit bull's animal instinct tells them to obliterate, to annihilate the threat until the very end. Now, I said something very important there. I said whether that threat is real or imagined. Because on the topic of children, a pit bull can very much be imagining a threat. All animals can be imagining a threat. I think about when I had a cat, and I loved my cat. I had my cat before I had my child. My son, when he was 4 months old, was just playing with her and went to grab her face because he loved her. And my cat swatted at my son. Why did she do that? Well, because she had obviously perceived an imagined threat. It wasn't because I was raising her to be a killer cat. It's because she is a cat. She is an animal. And the animal just got swapped in the face. And yes, it's by a little 4-month-old baby, but she doesn't comprehend that. Similarly, I went to a friend's house who has 2 pit bulls. She also has a 5-month-old child, about 5 or 6-month-old child, and she has an almost 2-year-old. And I went to her house. She has 2 pit bulls. And the entire time that I was holding her baby, the pit bull was sitting in front of me growling, just growling. Like actually, I felt that it was going to bite my face off. And she kept telling the pit bull, calm, calm, it's okay, it's okay. And she said, I'm sorry. The pit bull thinks that it's her baby. Okay, I get that. I guess I feel mildly comfortable enough because you're sitting here, right? But I was very conscious of how I was holding the baby, make sure I didn't move too quickly because I didn't want the pit bull to wrongly perceive that I was threatening the child.
In this particular story, the moment that pit bull started growling at her, holding that baby, the thing was for the owner to put that pit bull in a cage, put him up somewhere. You know, it's common sense. The dog is growling at you because you're holding the baby. That's common sense. You know what I'm saying? You can try to make the dog into some bad animal or whatever you want to say about him. The dog is growling at you because you're holding the baby. What he's supposed to do. Now, as a responsible dog owner, the owner hearing that dog growl one time at the guest, one time around that baby, any kind of funny acting, you see, he goes in the cage. Now, another thing I say, as a responsible dog owner, if that dog growls anytime, you see, her picking that baby up and that dog growling really messed that dog from being around that baby up, period, in my opinion, for me. You know, once that dog have any type of growling, I don't care if it's at a neighbor, I don't care what it is. If my child is in that same pathway, when the growling is going on, then I'm not having my child around that dog no more. Because I could think she's growling because you picking up the baby, you know, and she might, 90-some% chance she is, but at the same time, she could be growling at something else. So now that I've seen that growl, that type of temper come out around my child, you know, and just like she said, under a false pretense, a false sense of threatening, she's thinking that the lady is threatening the baby, but in actuality, the lady ain't threatening the baby, she's holding them. That's why I tell you, when you have these dogs trained for certain things, you need to train them to understand the difference between right and wrong. Is this person doing something that need to be attacked, or you just about to bite just because? You know, biting just because is a liability. Biting just because get you locked up, and biting just because make you part of the statistics that these folk like this be talking about. Now I want y'all to check this video out right here, and this brother gonna say one thing, and he gonna say some things that I want you to check out, I want you to listen to, but just listen to the way these folk feel about the pit bull ban.
A small town. Do you know this town, John? It's just north of Detroit, Michigan, Grosse Pointe Shores.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So this town just passed a measure banning pit bulls by a vote of 4-3. This was after a Detroit Lions player's dog attacked a neighbor, and of course it was a pit bull. And so it's going to prevent any new pit bulls from being allowed in the community. Those who already own them will be allowed to keep their pets, but they have to abide by a number of conditions. Install a fence on their property, no less than 6 feet tall, keep the dog on a leash, take out a $100,000 liability insurance policy for potential attacks. And I am very curious to know your thoughts on whether or not you support pit bull bans.
I don't really support pit bull bans. I believe the policy I called for on my Twitter recently was total pit bull genocide because, you know, I've seen all these conservatives recently and they're just like, oh, I'm going to be edgy. We should ban pit bulls. And it's like, okay, I see you, I raise you calling for genocide against pit bulls because they're just like, you know, honestly, I don't have a problem with the animal.
I
understand. Well, I do, but really I hate the owners. Because if you're going to own a pit bull and just be like, yeah, I like it because it can kill things, that's cool to me. I respect that. What I don't like is well, I have a pit bull and she's the sweetest little bundle of joy ever. Like, you're gaslighting me. That's like the ultimate thing that pit bull owners want. When they buy a pit bull, they want one day for the pit bull to start attacking somebody so they can gaslight the person who's being attacked about it as it's happening. Like, he's usually never like this. Meanwhile, you're getting like your throat ripped out.
Yeah.
So I support it because...
Or any of you guys or any of you sisters like that, he say most pit bull owners get the dog and waiting for them to attack somebody one day. You know, this is the way people on the outside of the glass think about people in the pit bull community. That's why I'm letting you look at this video.
Look, just be honest about it. You like it. The same reason, you know, I want a golden retriever because he's really sweet and loyal, and I want, you know, a beagle so he can go hunting with me or whatever. You want the pit bull because you think it's cool that it can kill things. Like, that's what it is. I don't think people should be able to own dogs like that and people think it's like, oh, well, that's what the left says about guns. A gun sits there. A dog is its own thing. It has agency and it has willpower. And there are so many stories, you hear them literally every week about, we had this dog for years, and then all of a sudden it heard like a clap and it freaked out and killed somebody. Like, I don't know.
I want the plot twist of it turns out Eric has a pit bull.
I've had them. Yeah, for sure. Here's the thing. Pit bull owners, and I'm going to be honest, first of all, they have to, I almost cussed there. They have to define it. They have to define what the hell a pit bull is.
That's
most
fair.
people, definitely with these bully breeds, they have no idea what the hell it is that they're defining it as.
Yeah.
Here's my position on this.
Now, that brother 100% correct, man. Define what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about 7 or 8 different kind of dogs. Everybody who's saying a pit bull attack, there's a pit. These folk don't even know it's 7 or 8 different kind of dogs that y'all all classifying as one dog. Or all classifying as one name of dog. These folk don't know that. Let these folk know out here in the public that this is not a pit bull. This is a so-and-so. This is not a pit bull. This is a so-and-so. This is not a pit bull. This is a so-and-so. This is a pit bull. You know, that brother was 100% correct.
It is of no, and I wish we would be honest, including people that want to outright ban it. The people that generally own pit bulls are the most irresponsible dog owners that exist. They're often people that don't care for them. They're often people that just have them on some chain and a leash in the back. And yeah, they're going to act up. That's been my experience with people that own pit bulls. The minute I see them, I can tell you should not be owning that type of dog. There are they're dogs, right? They have different breeds. They all act different. And to act as if that's not a dangerous animal right off the rip, or can be, is dishonest. You say the same thing about like a Mountain, or say the same thing about a Rottweiler, and that actually, the Rott used to be the version of the pit that people would gripe about when I was coming up, because most people own Rottweilers. Now the irresponsible dog owners all get this pit bull, which to me is not the best dog, and I say this as someone that has had it. So I want to talk about that because they're not separate issues. This person that if you ban a pit bull, they'll find some other dog and be irresponsible with that, and that'll be the next one that we're gonna up and ban. So, but I'm not afraid to talk about the demographics. Oh yeah, sure, of course it was an NFL guy whose dog went and attacked somebody. Of course, that's to be expected. So let's talk about that. It's an uncomfortable conversation because now we got to talk demographics of the people that often own these dogs and don't know what the hell it is that they're doing. So it absolutely still is an owner problem, but the same thing can be said for basically any breed. Aside, when I say any breed, I'm not saying that like a golden retriever is the same thing as that. No, I'm saying that regardless of what dog it is, that irresponsible owners, and I agree that everybody shouldn't even own a dog, irresponsible owners, they'll gravitate towards the next one that they deem as kind of the aggressive one, and then that'll be the next one that we're sitting here arguing about. But I don't think everybody should own dogs because they're not all fit to own dogs.
He was 100% right, man. And that's the end of the day, man. No matter what kind of dogs it is out here, you're going to have irresponsible owners with them. And whether everybody across the country was owning Malinois be chasing people down the street, man. People be talking about these dogs biting people. I guarantee you, take these Malinois and put them in the same owner's hands that got the pit bulls now. Erase all the pit bulls, give them all Malinois, and watch how many dog bites you have compared to what you got now with pit bulls. I guarantee you have more dog bites with Malinois than you got with real pit bulls right now.